Kashmir, nestled in the Himalayas, gateway to the subcontinent, an ancient center for Shaivism, then Buddhism, and by the 14th century, Islam. The land of Kashmiriyat, a way of life that calls for tolerance and acceptance of all. A paradise that is one of the most dangerous places in the world. The 16th century arrived, and with it came the Mughals, who overthrew the Sultan dynasty. And Kashmir remained under the Mughals until the Afghans took over around 200 years later. Some Kashmiri historians have recorded the Afghan reign under the Durrani dynasty as one of religious oppression. Moreover, history records extortion, torture, and enslaving of the native population across faiths by the invaders. But this situation changed soon enough when the Kashmir Valley was taken by the army of the Sikhs under Maharaja Ranjit Singh in the early 19th century. The region came under non-Islamic rule for the first time in close to 500 years. And this was the beginning of Kashmir as we know it today. It was the 1800s and the fortunes of the Sikh Empire was on the rise. The Maharaja, a fierce warrior and a curse to the Afghans since his early teens, had finally taken Kashmir from them. Ranjit Singh installed one of his trusted soldiers, Gulab Singh, a Dogra from Jammu, as the head of the state to rule in his place. Sikh governors were appointed in the valley of Kashmir to administer other regions. However, Gulab Singh, the blue-eyed boy, was granted complete autonomy, so that he even maintained his own army. What's more, before long, the Maharaja granted Jammu to Gulab Singh as a hereditary principality. Gulab Singh had a great war strategist heading his army, the dynamic General Zorawar Singh. In 1834, the able general captured Ladakh, expanding the Sikh territory in the north.
This is a composite state. The state of Jammu and Kashmir was never a homogeneous state. It was a state built up by Maharaja Gulab Singh. Then he launched these great campaigns, Greater Himalayan campaigns through Ladakh and Gilgit.
Gulab Singh continued his campaigns even after Maharaja Ranjit Singh's death. With the help of General Zorawar, he extended the Sikh Empire to Baltistan and Gilgit and Gartok near the source of the Indus, right up to Lake Mansarovar.
Jammu and Kashmir is perhaps the only state where the rulers, the Dogra kings, extended the frontiers of the boundaries right up to Tibet, China, Russia and Afghanistan.
But all good war campaigns must come to an end. The Chinese and Tibetans who had fought the brave general were lying in wait for an opportunity to get back at him. And it came when General Zorawar Singh and his army were on a pilgrimage in the upper Himalayas. Weather played spoil sport, and the Dogra force soon found themselves in a spot. Stretched to their limits and travel-weary, the Dogras were no match for a combined Tibetan and Chinese force. And so, General Zorawar Singh and 4,000 of his troops were killed near Lake Mansarovar in the Battle of Toyo in December 1841. But his valor was so legendary that the good general was honored by his enemies with a shrine on the battlefield, a humble memorial that still attracts tourists in Tibet. A year later, putting an end to the wars, the Emperor of China and the then Dalai Lama signed the Treaty of Chushul with Gulab Singh. Treaty of Chushul, 1842. We shall neither at present nor in the future have anything to do or interfere at all with the boundaries of Ladakh and its surroundings as fixed from ancient times, and will allow the annual export of wool, shawls and tea by way of Ladakh according to the old established customs. The boundaries of Ladakh and trade across the borders were restored. In return, Gulab Singh was granted a jagir of 3 villages near Mansarovar.
There was no dispute about the border. They reiterated the border, which clearly was Demchok, for example. And you know, in these days, it was not, you don't have a border following a range and like that. It's just more a trade route. And at one point you're in Ladakh and one point you cross. There was a small nala near Demchok, which said to be traditionally the border.
It is cruel irony that this well-intentioned though ambiguous treaty that defined the border of Ladakh with China and honored for over 100 years would later become a point of contention. The death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839 had shaken the foundations of the Sikh Empire. The Maharaja had many wives and several offspring, but none had the charisma nor the hardiness to survive the challenge of monarchy. Gulab Singh, with much foresight, planned carefully to consolidate his position within this declining empire. He struck a convenient friendship with Colonel Henry Lawrence of the East India Company, the other emerging power in the region. The air was soon thick with whispers of Gulab Singh's secret alliance with the British. Though never proved true, history records that he stayed away from the First Anglo-Sikh War of 1845-46. which tipped the battle in favor of the British. The East India Company eventually won Punjab, even if it didn't come easy. A defeated Sikh force agreed to the Treaty of Lahore, a treaty that forced the infant ruler of Punjab, Maharaja Duleep Singh, to free his vassal lords, including Gulab Singh, which left him open to negotiating his own terms with the new overlords, the British. Soon Gulab Singh signed a treaty with the British that made all his land an independent sovereignty under them. He followed this up with the Treaty of Amritsar, which allowed him to purchase more land from the British. By all accounts, this was an extraordinary document, and it should not be lost on anyone who cares to know that Gulab Singh's British ally, Colonel Henry Lawrence, was a signatory to it. In this treaty, the British, who now had taken over the Sikh Empire, sold a portion of that territory, which was the Valley of Kashmir and adjoining regions, to Gulab Singh for a sum of 75 lakh in Nanak Shahi rupees, the currency of the Sikh Empire. An amount that was the exact cost to the East India Company in the just concluded Anglo-Sikh War. And this was how the Dogra dynasty was established, with Raja Gulab Singh receiving the indisputable and sacrosanct title to Jammu and Kashmir and being recognized as the Maharaja of this newly created political entity. In return, the British gained control over the defense, foreign affairs and communications of this new and strategic state, while Gulab Singh remained its sovereign.
Post 1846, when Gulab Singh purchased Kashmir from Britishers, and it became Jammu and Kashmir. So the entirety Jammu and Kashmir is a recent happening. It's just, you may say, 170 years old.
Neither Gulab Singh nor the people of Kashmir would realize the impact this transaction would have on Kashmir 100 years later.